5 wins in a row. Lamar goes for 5 touchdowns, Brew, only 5 incompletions. Here he is post-game.
Does it matter to kind of do the things you're doing on stage like this?
Nah, I'm chasing something right now, so each and every game is going to be the same thing for me. Like, I'm going to be the same person. Every game I'm trying to win.
Okay, here's Lamar this season. Weeks 1 and 2, a little bit of a slow start. This is what he's been doing. He did it last year too, a little slow start, and then ramps up. Points per game now up to 35. He's completing 71% of his passes. Total yards per game, 300. That's a little bit of a drop. 15 touchdowns, 4 turnovers only, and passer rating is now at 137, Brew. And obviously this game was in Tampa Bay. Wow. Can anyone beat this version of the Ravens?
No.
Well, before I answer your question, Wilds,
Yeah.
let me tell you guys what happened last night.
Please. Good.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, thinking they're all that because they were 4-2, they beat everybody's darling, the Detroit Lions.
That's true.
And Baker Mayfield was rightly a top Brews MVP ballot. They were feeling good, so they invited the Baltimore Ravens over for a game of tackle football.
What happened?
And Baltimore wanted to be polite. They didn't want to be rude. Initially, they go there, they're being nice. And then the Buccaneers start feeling themselves. Start talking trash, start getting rough with them. And so they had to put the smack down. All right? And that's when they threw their legs up on the table to showcase their purple and black Ravens Jordans. That's when they said, go, Baker and the rest of you guys, and fetch me a robe. And of course, that's right. They had to say it. Yep. Get me a sandwich, some chips,
to this.
and a soda pop.
That's an executive around
That's
here.
a huge type of chips. And that's what happened last night. And because the Ravens owned their house and they had 6 straight scoring touchdowns or 6 straight scoring possessions and 41 points to prove it.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what was your question?
Can anyone beat them? And so, do you want to answer that? Or do you want me to
go ahead first.
All right. So I won't mention the obvious one, the team that always beats them, that beat them in last year and beat them to begin this year, because that's people. We've had enough Chiefs-Ravens arguments for a while. We don't have to do it right now. But absolutely, a lot of teams can beat them. I'd take Detroit over them right now. I understand the transitive property of Tampa beat Detroit, but I'm not worried. It is not about Lamar, but we will get to Lamar, who was brilliant again. It's about the fact that when this is your defense, a lot of teams can beat you. Will they? I don't know. We can show you their defensive numbers, I think. But if we can't show it to you, they're bottom. There we go. Last year, awesome at everything. This year, kind of the opposite. And so, anyone that has a competent offense, and the Bucs, by the way, had a very good offense that then lost Mike Evans, and at the very end of the game lost Chris Godwin, you're going to be susceptible for a loss. So I think we're a little, it's been 15 hours, not too long, but in the afterglow of a brilliant Lamar performance and an offense, and Derrick Henry, who was like, why aren't they giving Derrick Henry the ball? And then bam, 80 yards down the sideline. The offense looks unbelievable. Yes. But I think right now the team as a whole, questions like this slightly overvalue it because defensively they have more issues than any Ravens team since Lamar's been there. True. So, I just think that's fair. And maybe it speaks to, and I know we're going to get to it, his MVP case later, because they have to score a ton of points. But I don't think this Ravens team is, forget the Chiefs, just a clear best other than the Chiefs team in the NFL right now. I don't feel that way.
The clear best other team than the Chiefs. And it's so insane because can the Chiefs offense continue to win with that? Right? Can the Chiefs offense continue to get out these wins? No. But you want to say that the Ravens defense is not like the Chiefs need to play such great shutdown defense because their offense has been awful. So if you want to make that argument about the Ravens, then you need to make the same argument about the Chiefs. And you would have to say, well, hey, they kind of cancel each other out, so they're equal. But instead, it always then goes to the Chiefs are the best, and yada, yada. And I agree. I'm not going to make this into a whole Chiefs-Ravens clip, but, like, that's just the inconsistency in the logic. Okay? I mean, the Ravens are a top team. Obviously, any team can beat anyone at this point, right? I think the Chiefs could beat the Ravens could beat the Chiefs, the Lions could beat the Ravens, the Lions could beat the Chiefs can beat the Lions. Like, that's what it is right now. There is no team that is just by far so dominant that it's just like, how are we going to stop them? But I'll tell you what, whose punch are you afraid of more? The Chiefs or the Ravens? The Ravens. Right? Whose quarterback are you afraid of more? The Ravens or the Lions? The Vikings or the Ravens? Right? The Bills or the Ravens? Like, the Ravens have one of the most threatening, most intense punches. Just Derrick Henry and Lamar alone is incredibly intimidating. So, I just don't think that it's 100% fair to have a big win like this. And again, I like how Nick then says, oh, well, you know, the Buccaneers had a great offense until Mike Evans went down. And it's like, oh, okay, sure. You made no excuses for the Buccaneers versus the Eagles. When the Eagles were down, A.J. Brown, Devontae, 2 starting linemen, but there was no excuses. This is a disaster. They're this awful team. But now that the Buccaneers go down Mike Evans, that's an excuse. Okay, that almost makes sense. It's just kind of funny, honestly, because there was nothing but unconditional praise for the Chiefs beating the 49ers, right? Who Nick, by the way, doesn't think is a good quarterback. Has him who Nick doesn't think that Purdy's a good quarterback. Has him ranked under Baker Mayfield. I think had the Buccaneers higher than the 49ers, if memory serves me correctly. And the Chiefs play a terrible game, beat the 49ers, who were completely beat up, right? Who had a million injuries. Literally, were playing with their 4, 5, 6, 7. Their healthiest wide receiver was hospitalized in a robbery. But here, the Ravens dominate the Buccaneers way more than anything that the Chiefs have done throughout this entire season. But the Ravens dominate. And it's, well, I don't know. I don't know. How does that make sense? How does that fundamentally make sense? It makes 0 sense. It makes 0 sense. And don't tell me about the history. It does not matter what happened in 22 or 23. We're talking about this year. How these teams are constructed this year. If these were identical teams with identical coaching staffs, then you could maybe make that argument. But these are different teams, different levels of health, different levels of quality of play. Everything is different. Everything. So I don't care what happened in 22 and 23. I don't care what happened in 2019. It has 0 bearing on it. 0. 0, 0, 0. So you can't constantly just say, well, it matters because of what happened in the past. No, it does not. No, it does not. Do you want to say, hey, I feel more confident with this team or that team because of some things that happened in the past? Sure. You can kind of make that argument. But not with this unconditional confidence of, well, this is what happened in the past, so we know this is what's going to happen again in the future. Nope, they can't prove it. Nope, like it just doesn't make sense. We know that the Chiefs are not playing very well right now, and they've had no real awesome wins, and yet the Ravens keep stacking great win after great win after great win. That's what the Ravens have been doing. That's what the Ravens did to the Cowboys, the Bills, the Buccaneers. They've been dominant. Dominant. Whereas the Chiefs beat the Bengals, losing record, The Saints, losing record. The 49ers, losing record. An injured Chargers team who just lost to the Arizona Cardinals in a 17-15 point game. That's super impressive. The Falcons, who just got beat by the Seahawks. And the Ravens, who clearly took a minute or two to get this game to get their season going, as saw from the infographic. They didn't beat this version of the Ravens. This isn't the same Ravens team. And if anything, the Chiefs are getting worse because they're just getting more injuries, honestly. And the Ravens are getting better. So put some respect on the Ravens already. And I've already talked about in a previous video all about the playoffs and how they need to win. I've already talked all about that. So that goes without saying. I've been very clear. And I even went on a whole rant about saying that if Lamar Jackson can win a Super Bowl, he's now elevated in the GOAT conversation of what he's doing. If he can win 2 or 3 Super Bowls, the dude is in the legitimate conversation as the GOAT. No question about it. No cooking the books. No having to kind of move things all around. It's without a doubt. You don't have to win 8 Super Bowls to be the GOAT. You don't have to win 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, you don't have to. If Patrick Mahomes makes the argument that he's the GOAT, he does not have to win more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. Make no mistake about it. Tom Brady was not really seen as the undisputed GOAT until he won in Tampa Bay. Because people, for the most part, were really having the debate. Was it Bill Belichick or Tom Brady? Who's more responsible? Well, he did get lucky. No, his first few Super Bowls, he didn't really do a lot offensively. Like, they picked him apart. They said Peyton Manning's a better quarterback. Aaron Rodgers a better quarterback. But obviously, he stacked a lot of Super Bowls and then won in Tampa, and that will put him over the threshold. But if Lamar Jackson keeps playing like this, keeps stacking MVPs, can win 2, 3 Super Bowls, I mean, why would be, if he could win 3 Super Bowls right now, why would people be so quick just to automatically say Patrick Mahomes is the best? He's the GOAT, not Lamar Jackson. When you see what Lamar Jackson is doing. I mean, yes, Lamar Jackson has some weapons right now, but let's not act like he's stacked with like the Detroit Lions weapons. And not to mention, he's been balling out even when he lacked some of these weapons. He didn't have Derrick Henry last year. I'm not saying he had a bunch of scrubs either, but Mark Andrews was down. I mean, his number one weapon was a 5'9" rookie wide receiver. And he won the MVP. We see what Patrick Mahomes' numbers look like right now. And then when he doesn't have the support, his numbers tank. So you cannot look and see what the Ravens have been doing and say the Ravens are not a top team and just I'm automatically going to pick the Chiefs because of things that happened last year, the year after, or year after. Those are not actual logical conclusions. You can say, I trust what Patrick Mahomes does in the playoffs. I trust what Andy Reid and Spags will be able to coach and do and their game plans in the playoffs. But to say that the Chiefs are on another level and the Ravens aren't, like, that's the issue that I take more than anything. Because what the Ravens have been doing, they've been imposing their will. It's been pure domination. That's not up for debate. They had a really bad loss against the Raiders. No question about that. And I ripped them for it. And they had a tough loss against the Chiefs week 1, given Andy Reid months to prepare. And while the Ravens are trying to, figure out what do we do with Derrick Henry? What are we doing with some of these new pieces? New defensive coordinator. Unfortunately, a passing of another coach. Like, there was a lot going on. A lot going on. And I criticized Lamar and the Ravens for that game. I did. Absolutely. But I also said that that wasn't a must-win game either. I said it has to be that you prove that you belong game. Because there's not, not a must-win in week 1. But the question is, can anyone beat this version of Ravens? I mean, listen, the question itself, which is kind of what Nick said in a way, is flawed. Because I'm not a never a doubt, undefeated kind of person. So yes, right? This version of the Ravens, I believe that the Giants could somehow pull out a win. Because it's called football, okay? I believe that the Cleveland Browns could come away with a win with Jameis Winston because it's just football, okay? Sorry, Ravens fans. So the real question is how great are the Ravens? Are they a top team in the NFL? When the Ravens are at their best, can anyone beat them? And this is the reality. When the Ravens are at their best version, the best ball that they played this season is without a doubt better than the Chiefs. Then, again, I don't want to go through all these teams because people are going to get too hung up on it. But the best version of what the Ravens can do is top in the NFL. You can put them in the category of the Lions if you want. Again, the reason why I kind of stopped myself is because I don't love to rank teams. I hate it. I put teams in groups. But I'm confident if we're talking about who's playing the best football, when the teams are at their best, as of right now, if you're forcing me to pick, I would put the Lions and the Ravens at the top tier when they're playing their best football. The Chiefs' best football this year is not at the top. It's not. Neither are the Bills right now either. The Bills might get there, but they're not there right this second, and they're now trying to incorporate Amari Cooper and whatnot. And I think you can put the Vikings up there too, but since the Vikings did just lose to the Lions, it's understandable that you would bring them a notch down. But the Vikings' best football is better than the Chiefs. So yeah, the Ravens are beasts this year, and there's no reason to try to qualify it. There's just no qualifying is needed. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Baltimore Ravens' big win versus the Buccaneers and whether or not they're the team to beat in the NFL? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.